In this video, I'm transforming this Willow Creek neighborhood into medieval village on the hills. This will be poor, struggling village. Think small dirt huts scattered on top of the ruins of old civilization. Basically, people trying to build new town on remains of another. My goal is to turn this whole neighborhood into seamless scenery of hills, cliffs, forests, and houses nestled in between. I did 2 lots of cameras, they were my training before the big lot. I used them to figure out what plants I will use, what cliffs would look like, and how it all would fit together with houses and ruins. To make filming this video a little bit easier and smoother, and to give myself less editing to do. And in this video, I will do the biggest lot on this street. I want to fit at least 3 houses here, but first I'm using debug rocks as cliffs to cover houses on the background. I am sizing them up using square bracket keys. My game already looks a lot less modern than what it originally looks like. Mod for medieval roads doing some heavy lifting here, and also I have a mod that removes a lot of modern buildings and objects from the world. Not all of them, but a lot. It's called Timeless mod by Pandora Simbox, and roads just called medieval roads. And those few remains of modern world that left after Timeless mod I covered with cliffs. I played a little bit with train tool to add hills and river, and then I'm adding my ruins. For this I'm using ruins pieces from Get Together Debug. They literally perfect for this build. I like how they bright and white. It makes them stand out from landscaping and houses that I will add later. I'm placing these ruins here and there, trying to imagine a building that they once were, but also so much time has passed that it's impossible to tell pieces of what these walls have been. A lot across the street is very similar to this. I wanted to create seamless scenery, which kind of hard to do in The Sims 4 because how lots work. They always feel isolated from one another. I used tool mod to push my landscaping on the road to connect them. I'm building my 3 small medieval houses after cliffs and hills and ruins, almost fitting them around those bigger elements to make it look like people try to carve out the most comfortable spot for themselves, but had to work around these unmovable components of nature and history. Some houses even have cliffs coming out on the inside. I will try to hide those as best as I could. I also added a fallen statue next to the biggest ruins cluster. It's a decoration from Jungle Adventure. I sized it up a lot and put it in sideways on the ground using tool mod. It's very old statue. People don't know what it was, what it meant to those who put it here, what it used to be for, and does it do anything now. But they're afraid of it because they don't know. So they try to avoid this place. They put some fence around it. But some of them will be forced to walk near this statue to get to their house. I'm making this build for my Ultimate Decades Let's Play. If you're interested in historical and fantasy gameplay, the playlist with Ultimate Decades linked in the description down below. In the next episode we will visit this place. Unless something goes horribly wrong and all of my Sims will find a way to die, we will visit this place. This is where Eden is from, and where her parents live, for those of you who are watching Ultimate Decades. In that episode I will tell you the story of this place in details, but this video is for talking about the build. As I said earlier, there are 3 houses. One of them has a little garden next to it, and another one has a chicken coop next to it. There is also a bigger community garden at the front of the lot, with a campfire and a sitting around the campfire. I imagine that would be a place where people often gather after a long day of work on the farmland. They sit around the fire and elders tell stories about old times when this land used to belong to odd creatures that wear masks and do magic, and how those creatures sometimes can be seen in the forest that surrounds this place. And younger people will say that those just horror stories to scare children from going into the woods. I employed NPCs to plant this garden for me and also playtest the slot for me. I put a fence around the garden area to make it look like people cleared this piece of land to garden here, but all around it I will put a lot of wild plants later. I also gave chickens a fence, but it's broken, so they roaming all around the lot. All 3 houses are furnished and play-tested. Each one has where to sleep, cook, and go to the bathroom. What this lot doesn't have is any kind of bath or shower, but Sims can clean themselves in the sink. If you decide to download this lot, I will have it on my gallery. If it's not on my gallery, yell at me in the comments. I'm forgetful. If you decide to download this slot, you can place a wooden bathtub base game anywhere outside for bathing toddlers and infants, but you can also clean them in the sink. To make these houses look older without using custom content, I decided to use trick with raising objects from the basement to hide functional items inside decorative ones. That's how toilet becomes a bucket, sink becomes a clay bowl, and fridge becomes a crate of radishes. To do it, you need to put your functional object in the place where you want it to be, and put your decorative objects that you want to cover your functional object with in the basement, and raise your decorative object from the basement using 9 key to the level when it's visible on the first floor. Your functional object still needs to be a little bit visible so you can click on it to use it. After you raised your decorative object from the basement, you can either delete the basement, it will give your object outside lighting, or put lights in the basement so your object can have inside lighting. First house doesn't have stove, so only salads can be cooked here. It has a double bed and a toddler bed, sink / clay bowl, and a wooden bucket as a toilet. You can see throughout this video me playtesting different objects. Some of the animations with the bucket and a bowl actually look fine. Animation with the fridge looks silly because their food literally levitating, spawning and levitating above the crate of radishes. I don't mind that personally. But you can also hide fridge in something bigger that would hide also your levitating foods. Second house, probably the smallest one on this lot, has a bunk bed, a stove, a countertop for cooking, and a fridge disguised as a shelf from Werewolves, but I turned the shelf upside down to hide a glass dome meant for flour. This house doesn't have a toilet, only pea bush outside. And the last and the biggest house fits 2 single beds and 1 double bed, and all the same medievalified accommodations. A clay bowl for washing and a bucket for pooping. I also hid a countertop inside this decorative table / garden bench shelf thing. I have no idea what this item is called, but it's from cottage living. I really like it as a surface for cooking, and height almost fits. This house has a little bench at the front door, which is essentially a piece of ruins. I like to imagine someone dragging it inside because they need something to sit on. Fridge for this house is outside, disguised as a picnic basket on top of a bags with something, maybe produce or grains. I tried to hide fridges inside something that could be a form of food storage. And also when it's outside, at least in winter, it would make sense why it makes your food last longer. I added more broken fencing and then started landscaping. I use tool mod a lot in this video, but even if you don't have a tool mod in your game, this build will look the same for you if you download it from the gallery, with one exception. The plants that I put on the road, because I moved them off the lot, they will not transfer through the gallery with this build, which is very annoying. Because I'm not building in the same save file I will be playing with this build. I had to do it twice. It makes road look narrower, more curvy, more natural. On the lot itself, I put a lot of grass everywhere to make it look maybe not as well kept, not as pristine. Like people taking care of their little plots that they choose to as homes for themselves around the houses and gardens, but they just can't keep up with everything else. I had an ambitious plan to finish the whole neighborhood for this video, so I can do really pretty tour in tab mode at the end of this video, but I'm running out of time to make this video, so we're only going to have 3 lots finished. The rest 2 will probably be just forest. You don't need to watch me place more bushes and trees. Recording voiceovers for these build videos always been hard for me. I never know what to say. Would it be interesting for you if I sat here and described every single little detail that I'm putting in this build? Like how I put pieces of wooden fencing very close to stone fencing, because I imagine that stone fencing is from old civilization and been here for so long that starting slowly sliding into the river because soil is moving with time, and people that live here now are putting their wooden fences, trying to keep all of that in place, but doing very poor job at it. Or I can tell you that I put a debug fencing on the cliffs, on the lower level of cliff, to make it look like people used to walk there, use it to get up the cliff. Yeah, I don't know if little details like this are interesting to listen about. Usually when I don't know how to approach some aspect of the video, I can go and watch similar videos on YouTube and learn what other people do. But the problem is that everyone that I watch who does speed builds with voiceovers usually just talks about wherever in those videos, not related to the build at all, giving some random life updates or answering questions. I think answering questions is a good one actually, because you like having a conversation with people that watch you in some way. But I don't feel like I'm interested enough for any of those options. And with that, it's all for this build. If you like this video, don't forget to leave it a like, comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more medieval inspired builds. I have a whole playlist full of them linked in the description down below. And also maybe check out my Ultimate Decade Challenge Let's Play if you're interested in historical gameplay. And I see you in the next video, talking about this same place even more. Bye!